This is
I love this boy. I discovered it. He's one of the greatest men in...
CI 501556, Cabinet for Health and Family Services, and Stacey Rice versus Sean Rice. Ms. Rice is here representing herself. Mr. Rice is here represented by Mr. Sedgelan. Parties have reserved until 3 o'clock for a hearing on Mr. Rice's motion to set a parenting schedule and for an order seeking to prohibit contact between the party's child and Ms. Rice's fiance. I'm assuming each party is going to testify, so I'll swear each of you in. Please raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm the testimony about to give in this proceedings to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, you got to
Sorry.
speak up. This is being recorded. All right. Mr. Sedgelan, each side can have approximately half the amount of time we have reserved. Mr. Sedgelan, you have made the motion. You get to call your witnesses first.
Thank you, Judge. I'll call Sean Rice. I guess I'd just like to clarify one thing. There was an additional portion to that motion. It was also for parenting time, and I'm sure the court knows that. I just didn't hear you.
For parenting time?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I thought I described it as a motion to set a parenting schedule and for an order prohibiting contact.
And that's what I guess I didn't hear you, and that was my fault. I apologize. I just want to make sure
No problem.
we're clear of the issues. Will you state your name for the record?
Sean Rice.
And Sean, have you been before this court before?
Yes, sir.
And did you file a motion that the court just referenced regarding parenting time and prohibiting contact between your daughter and another individual?
Yes.
Do you adopt everything that's contained in the affidavit that you signed with regard to that motion?
Yes, sir.
Let's try and keep this, as brief and clean as possible. When you were, first of all, when were you initially divorced? Do you know the date, approximate date?
When it was actually discharged?
Yes.
I believe November 2006, 7.
Okay. And in that divorce decree, did it provide for specific parenting time, meaning you have the child and exercise parenting time on these specific times and your ex-wife does it on those specific times?
No, we had a liberal understanding.
Okay. And did it provide for just open and regular visitation?
Unrestricted.
Okay. And immediately following the divorce, did you have any problems exercising and engaging in visiting and parenting time with your daughter?
No.
Tell the court, and I know the court's heard some of this before, but could you explain to the court again, just to refresh everyone's memory, historically, how did you participate with your daughter when you were married? What types of things did you do? Was there any particular specific activity that you were engaged in?
Every activity, we played a concerted effort to work together always, at all times, for all decisions, regardless of circumstance. Every decision ultimately came down to how it would affect our daughter, regardless.
Okay. And what types of things, and I guess I'm talking about specifically, did you engage in specific activities with your daughter, like
Cross-country, training, coaching, working with her academically, certainly petitioning on her behalf to our administration, to our leaders, Jefferson County, for enrollment issues or other circumstances which occurred during the natural course of education.
Okay. And I think you're shortchanging it a little bit more than I'd like you to. Can you again just expand a little bit on when you just mentioned cross-country and coaching? You did more than just, a passive participation in that, didn't you?
I gave everything I could possibly give at all times. I took it as seriously as I would take any project, business, or whatever. Actually, I took it more. My daughter, obviously being a part of the cross-country team, gave me all the incentive in the world, not just to do everything I could for every other kid on the team, but certainly to give her the kind of experience that I knew I was capable of giving her, despite whatever hurdles or headaches or hassles or challenges we were facing in our life. I knew that I could use this as a medium for showing her that regardless of what you encounter in life, you can maintain your balance, and there are lessons that you learn from competition, from sports, and so forth, that I felt that I was in a unique position to be able to communicate to her, and I did so.
And did you have an active and regular role in that kind of coaching position with regard to your daughter and other children?
Yes.
Okay. Now, at some point, though, subsequent to the divorce, did the communication ultimately break down between you and your ex-wife?
Last summer.
Okay. And since last summer, how often have you had an opportunity to exercise contact or visitation with your daughter?
Only when I showed up at cross-country meets
Okay. When was the last time you saw her?
at the state championship.
Which was when?
November 19th, I believe.
Of
Of 2009.
Okay. And the court's aware of this, but there is an...
It might have been October. Apologies.
It's okay. October, November, 09, correct?
Correct.
And the court's aware of this, but there is an EPO in effect, or excuse me, a DVO in effect between you and your ex-wife, correct?
Correct.
And was there also one subsequently filed on behalf of your daughter that was ultimately dismissed?
Correct.
Okay. But has the existence of the DVO prevented you from having contact with your daughter?
Quite a bit.
Okay, and explain to the court why that is that you haven't had an opportunity to exercise it because of the existence of that DVO.
It's, in a nutshell, it's fair to say that my daughter has is constantly, I guess, with her mother.
Okay.
And
Meaning there's not times when you know that you can see her that the mother won't, that the
I'm
ex-wife
well
won't.
aware that I could go to, for example, Jefferson County School, and I could visit her and request, but I have absolutely zero desire to cause any kind of a disturbance in her life or do anything that would embarrass her or in any way compromise the good stuff that I'm trying to accomplish.
Okay. And likewise, has the relationship between you and your daughter broken down over the last several months?
It has been impossible.
Okay. And in fact, there has been some conflict between you and her as well. Is that correct?
I was not aware of the conflict. I was not aware that there were issues.
Okay. When you say you were not, are you aware of it today?
I'm now very well aware.
Okay. And did some of this conflict coincide with any other event that you're aware of?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you don't want to say it, I'll bring it up, we've mentioned it in the motion. Was it at the time that that your ex-wife started dating Timothy Boston?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you know Mr. Boston?
No.
Okay. Have you had, or have I and us collectively had concerns about his history and particularly his criminal activity and criminal record?
Serious concerns.
Okay. And have you had an opportunity through obtaining records to find out, to determine what, if any, criminal record he has?
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, Judge, and I will introduce these. They're certified copies, so if the court would like, I'd like to leave them here while I ask questions and then introduce them. In fact, I'm going to show you a document here that's identified at the top, case number 87CR62. It's been certified by the bullet clerk. Is this a case as far back as 1987 showing a pattern and history of criminal behavior?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to read to you a portion of a document that was filed in this particular case. This is to probation and parole and the judge. It says, Mr. Timothy Boston is my nephew, and I've known him, it's illegible down there at the bottom, blank years. He has been in and out of trouble since he was in his teens. I tried to help him by teaching him how to lay brick. I've loaned him money. It is my belief that Timothy cannot be helped. He has called me and would try to get me to meet him at a bar.
Let me interject.
Yes, sir.
If you want to introduce evidence of his convictions, that's fine, but I'm not going to let you just, rattle off a statement from somebody that's not here to be cross-examined.
I was introducing the copy of the certified record, Judge.
I'm
I
not going
understand.
to let you rattle off a record of somebody who's not here to be cross-examined. If you want to introduce evidence that he's been convicted of crimes, well and good.
Okay. Is it your understanding that he was convicted of crimes as far back as 20-plus years ago?
Yes.
Regarding theft and deception and some allegations of violence contained in these?
Definite pattern.
Okay. And in fact, there were additional records. This one's identified as case number 88CR-100, another case out of Bullitt Circuit Court. Is this, again, another document relating to charges and specifically failed jumping and escape from the mental hospital? Is that correct?
That's correct.
And another one, this is Jefferson County most recently, or excuse me, not most recently, but as recently as 2008, certified copies of Jefferson District Court records relating to, again, theft by deception, cold checks, and things like that.
That's correct.
And finally, as most recently as 2009, at a circuit hardened court, this one is identified as 09CR246. is it correct that this document identifies and confirms that Mr. Boston was convicted of 8 counts of felony theft, and then they dismissed an approximately...
Yep, it was 16, they dismissed 8.
Okay, it's 16, they dismissed 8. And did you have an opportunity to review this document?
Yes, I have.
And as one of the conditions, does he have any specific conditions regarding his probation, as far as you're aware?
If I read the document correctly, it stipulates that he cannot leave Hardin County until this is settled.
And that's actually on the second page here of this document that says order of probation / conditional discharge. Down here it says remain within the area of Hardin County unless authorized by a probation officer. Is that correct? Is that your understanding of the documents that you obtained and had certified by the Hardin Circuit Court?
That's correct.
And is it your concern that this individual has demonstrated by these documents for sure at least a pattern of 22 plus years of criminal behavior?
By those documents, definitely.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Not yet. I want to know each one of the convictions, what it was for, and when it was for. I've gotten some general information from your client. I want specifics.
Can shall I read it into the record?
You can, yeah, if you're
Okay.
reading out certified record. For example, let's take the most recent one first. He talked about a conviction of 8 counts of felony theft. When and where did that occur?
I'm sorry, 2009 Hardin Circuit Court. He received the judgment and sentence on a plea of guilty is for 8 counts of theft by failure to make required disposition of property over $300. He received a sentence of 4 years on each count to run concurrently.
And when was the sentence handed down?
This judgment was entered on February 5th, 2010.
February 5th, 2010. So he's in custody at this point?
No, I'm sorry, this was probated time, Judge. I apologize. It was probated for a period of 5 years with certain conditions of probation and parole.
One of the conditions was he was not to leave Hardin County?
Yes, sir. 5 years, and what the sentence actually says is this is probated for 5 years or until restitution paid, whichever is later. So I guess in theory the court believes it could extend it beyond a 5-year probationary period.
Does it indicate how much restitution is owed?
$14,000.
If you recall, 14,000.
14,700 and change plus something.
Okay. All right. That's one. What else you got, Mr. Sutherland?
The 2008 case, Jefferson County. This is a theft by deception. 14. Theft by deception over $300. Defendant to pay restitution of $580.
Do you know when was he convicted? I'm assuming he was convicted.
Yeah, I'm trying to read through here, Judge. I've looked at a lot of these. I don't remember them all off the top of my head. This says, defendant plead guilty, 90 days. It's apparently they amended to a misdemeanor. Amended to attempted theft by deception over $300. Defendant plead guilty, 90 days, CD 2 years. That's on, looks like April the 13th, 2009.
Okay.
So he had 90 days hanging over his head for 2 years in 2009, which theoretically could have been revoked. I don't know why they didn't, but that's the
Okay.
08 case. The 88 case, this is where it starts to get unclear. This says that he was charged, he committed the offense of first-degree bail jumping by failing to appear for trial on felony charges. But they don't have any documents relating to the underlying charge, and then there's a document that says this action is hereby dismissed relating to the bail jumping, but that's the only documents I have.
So as far as you know, that's no conviction there?
Correct. And then in 87, the first case, this I believe is a conviction, though. This is the one where I started to read from the record. This is back when they were transcribing the court hearings, blah, blah, blah. This is the judge. The Commonwealth has recommended that the indictment be amended to charge third-degree forgery, which is a Class A misdemeanor. Blah, blah. The court goes through the soliloquy of understanding his rights. Still your desire to waive these rights and allow the court to assess punishment on a charge of third-degree forgery. Court finds that he did it freely, intelligently. Here it is. Here's the judgment. Pleaded guilty on the 25th day of April, 1989. So April 25th, 1989, found guilty of forgery in the third degree, and he got 1 year over his head, hanging for 2 years. So it looks like a circuit court action that they amended to a misdemeanor and conditionally discharged for 2 years.
Okay. Any others?
No, sir.
All right. Do you want to see those, Ms. Rice, before I do?
I've
Okay.
already seen them.
I'm going to give you the 88 one back since it didn't
That's
result in
no.
a conviction.
You want me to get it
I
out
might
of
be
there,
able to find it quicker than I can.
That's the 81.
All right. I will make the most recent conviction Respondent's Exhibit 1. The next one, which is next most recent, is the Jefferson County one, will be Respondent's Exhibit 2, and the 87 one will be Respondent's Exhibit 3. They're admitted into evidence. Okay, you can proceed, Mr. Sedgwick.
Do you have concerns regarding your daughter's exposure to Mr. Boston?
Grave.
Does he any biological relationship to your daughter?
No.
Where is it your understanding that your daughter currently resides?
With her mother at her mother's parents' house,
Which is what county?
Jefferson.
Okay. And is it your understanding, though, that Miss Rice still intends to engage in her relationship with Mr. Boston?
Yes.
Okay. And do you believe it is in your child's best interest, though, to avoid contact with Mr. Boston based upon this history and the fact that he is, currently engaged in criminal behavior and currently on felony probation?
To put it mildly.
Okay. Now, with regard to your daughter and the contact that you've had with her, you've indicated to the court that the last time you saw her was at the state championships. What championships are those?
Cross country.
And that was in October, November of
2009.
2009. And had you seen her regularly before that, or had the contact been decreasing up to that point?
I had been doing everything I could to comply with court orders, and certainly doing everything I could to...
Let me ask you the question again. The question was, had you been seeing her regularly
No.
prior to that? Okay. Is it your understanding that your daughter currently may not want to engage in some kind of contact with you?
It's very likely.
Okay. If that is true, what is it, or let me ask you this, what is it that you'd like to see as far as reestablishing a relationship with her?
I believe I can speak with her directly and communicate to her and answer her questions, and then through time, absolutely be able to repair the damage.
Okay.
And reestablish our relationship as it was before.
Okay. In a best case scenario, because this court in its position will oftentimes ask the parties to not to just ask for relief, but to specify the relief. What is it that you'd like to see as far as contact? Would you ask that it continue to remain open and liberal, or are you asking for a specific kind of visitation time so the parties don't have any additional conflict?
I would like to come up with some working solution that absolutely doesn't interfere with my daughter's education and so forth, but other than that, I'm open for as much time as I can possibly have.
Would you be willing to participate in some type of schedule where there was a pickup and drop off at school, so
Absolutely.
So you and Miss Rice would never have to have any contact with one another? And if it was indicated, or let me ask you this, if your daughter still maintains some problems with you, would you be willing to engage in therapy to try and address some of those issues?
I would welcome it.
That's all the questions I have for right now, Judge. I'd reserve the right to recall them.
All right. Ms. Rice, do you have any questions for Mr. Rice? You do not have to ask questions, but you can, and this is your time to do it. You'll also have a chance to testify directly.
I don't have any questions.
Okay. Any other witnesses, Mr. Sedgeline?
No, Judge.
Okay, Ms. Rice, this is your chance to present your case on this motion.
I also wanted you to know that Brittany Rice is here, and she's wouldn't mind
Your
talking to
daughter's
you.
here?
Yes.
Okay. She want to talk to the court?
She would like to talk to you, she said.
Okay. This is your chance to talk to me.
The probation thing that he's saying that Tim Boston isn't allowed out of Hardin County. He is on parole. He was with the parole officer here in Jefferson County. He has been moved to Jefferson County.
Okay, could you move the microphone a little closer? I'm having a little trouble hearing you.
Sorry.
You're telling me that he has a probation officer in Jefferson County?
Yes, Allison Bandy is
And
her
that he
name.
is permitted to live in Jefferson
He's
County?
now permitted in Jefferson County. He's not allowed out of Jefferson County unless he has a traveler,
So he can
passport.
live in Jefferson County, but he's not permitted to move outside of Jefferson
Right.
County? What's the name of his probation officer?
Allison Bandy.
Handy?
Bandy, Brandy.
Okay.
And as far as Brittany, she does not want to see her father. She's lost all of her
Objection.
best friends.
Objection?
Objection to Brandy. She can testify. I don't think it's appropriate for the mother to testify to what she thinks or wants.
Overruled. I will talk to the child.
Yes, sir.
He has sent emails to she has lost all of her best friends. He has sent all the records from Tim Boston to all the parents that Brittany is friends with, including new friends that she just met this year. I've had, Lily Moore was Brittany's best friend, and her mother has told me that
Objection.
she is not going to allow.
Objection.
When there's an objection, you need to hold up
Okay,
so that I
sorry.
can rule on. Hearsay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is that lady here today?
No, she's not.
Okay. She's not here to be cross-examined. It is hearsay, so you're not going to be able to tell me what she said. Okay? But you may continue.
Well, she has just lost all of her friends, and he's just made life really difficult. He embarrasses her when he's around. That's all I really have to say.
What's your daughter's name?
Brittany Rice.
And how is Brittany?
She's just turned 15.
Okay.
I do have a recent report card. She has straight A's on it, if you'd like to see it.
Where does she go to school?
At Pleasure Ridge.
Okay. Anything
Okay.
else you'd like to say?
Well, she wanted to go to Pleasure Ridge Park, and I got her accepted into it, and he had went behind my back and got her put into Atherton. So I had to go through hoops to get her back into PRP. We had to reschedule classes. She already had all of her classes picked, and
When did that all take place?
at the beginning of the school year. I found out a week before school started, so I had to do all that to get her
Okay.
back.
And she's been in PRP
Yeah.
this whole school year? Okay. Anything else you'd like to say?
No.
Okay. Please answer any questions Mr. Sedgeline may have.
You say that he, meaning I guess Sean, has caused her to lose all of her friends by sending Mr. Boston's information out.
Their parents think that he has a mental issue,
Okay.
and they don't want their kids around anything that might
You don't-
happen where he might be around.
Okay. You don't think that it has anything to do with Mr. Boston's
No.
long? You don't believe that?
They've told me it's not because of him, because
Okay.
they've all met him and they like him.
Okay. Do you think there's any problem with someone who has multiple felony convictions, who's not related to a child, having involvement with that child?
He's great with Brittany. He does everything with her and does everything for her that he can.
Do you understand that probation and parole can like show up in the middle of the night?
Yeah.
Kick the door in.
I'm
I say
well
kick the
aware
door
of
in, but
that.
Come in the door, make sure that he's not drinking and following the rules.
I'm well aware of it. He told me all of his issues 2 months into our relationship. So.
Right. And do you understand that did he admit that he was engaging in this criminal activity at the same time as well?
He told me what had happened in the past, and he told me what might come up in the future when we started dating. So.
Did he tell you about being alienated by other family members because of victimizing them?
There's a lot of other issues other than that.
Yet you still don't think there's any concern or judgment questions about having children who's not related to him being exposed to him at all times?
No, because he's great with her.
What about other convicted felons? Would you be comfortable her being exposed to other convicted felons, or would you want to get to know him first?
I would have to know him first.
You understand then why his objection is that because he doesn't really get to know Tim very well?
Tim tried to be friendly with him, and he would not have anything to do with Tim.
Do you understand his concern, though, about having someone?
do.
Okay. I don't have any further questions, Judge.
Okay. I have a few. How long have you known Mr. Boston?
It's going on 10 months.
2 months?
10.
10 months. And how long have you known of his criminal history? I understood you told Mr. Sedgeline you were aware of it.
He told me within 2 months. Of
And
our
what did he tell you?
relationship. He told me of the past things that had happened in his life, and he told me what was coming down the road where he might had the recent
Okay,
in
with-
Hardin County.
With respect to things that had happened in his life of a criminal conviction nature, what had he told you before this motion was made?
He had told me about all of it. He even had me a printout made of all of his.
Well, he told me all of it. Tell me what he told you.
Well, he told me of the fraud accounts, and he told me of all the work that he had done for this lady that she said he didn't complete, and that it was going to be going to court. And
Did he tell you that he had pled guilty to forgery in the third in 1987?
yes, he did.
Did he tell you that he was convicted of theft? Let's see. That he pled guilty to attempted theft by unlawful taking over $500 in 2008?
Yes, he did.
And was it sometime after you met him that he was convicted in Hardin County in 2009, or was that before you met him?
That's when I met him. I've been going to all the court days with him. I've been in court with
You
him
met
for
him in court?
No, I've been going to all of the court sessions that he's had for this Hardin County.
Okay.
I've been in court with him.
So you were there and you were aware when he pled guilty.
Yes.
I take it he pled guilty
He
in
did.
2009 in Hardin County.
Judge, if I can clarify, it's 2010. It was February. It was just last month.
It was in February.
February 5th, 2010.
Yes, sir, not 2009. It was
Thank you.
just last month, or 2 months, a month
Pretty
ago.
current, pretty current. And when did the activities take place for which he was convicted?
2006.
Do you know?
It was in 2006. But
Things that happened
she
in
didn't
2006?
She didn't file an actual report until 2008 in October.
Okay. Do you trust this person?
Yes, I do.
Why?
He's been there for me and my family, and we've been going through some rough times. We've lost a lot of family members this past year, and he's been there and done a lot, helped a lot with things.
How much contact does he have with Brittany?
He has a lot. He helps me pick her up at school and helps me take her to sporting.
Is he living with you all?
No.
Okay. So how much time does he spend with her or around her in an average week?
Probably about 14 hours, or 14 to 20 hours probably.
How does that break down?
Well, we have dinner a lot, and we spend the weekend doing things, going to the park, and we've got a gym membership that we go to about an hour or two every other day.
We have a gym membership?
Yeah, all three of us go and work out. And
One membership?
it's a family membership.
You can have a family membership without being married?
It's a friend. You take a buddy with you and you get passes. It's
Okay.
a Urban
Is-
Active.
Is he ever alone with Brittany?
Yeah.
Does he ever bring friends over?
No.
Is he working now?
No. He has a workman's comp thing going on where he was hurt on the job.
When?
It was in 2008. October 2008.
So he hasn't worked since October 2008? he on any pain medicine?
Yeah, he goes to, he has a regular doctor that he goes to.
Does he have any children?
Yes, he does.
What are the ages of his children?
There are 4 boys. The oldest is 30, and I believe it's 27, 25, and 24. I'm not sure on their ages, but that they're all close right there.
Where do they live?
Here in Louisville.
Does he ever see him?
Yeah. He usually sees all of them about every day, except for TJ.
When
lives-
he was, did he and his wife get divorced? Was he married to their mother? Or
Yeah, he was married for 27 years.
who ended up with custody after they got divorced?
I believe they had joint custody.
Okay. Has he ever had any problems with Child Protective Services that you know of?
No.
You asked him?
Yeah, when he showed me and told me about his past, I asked him, did he have any troubles with?
Okay. All right. Anything else, Mr. Sedgeline?
Judge, no, I'd like to recall my client, though.
Sure.
Can I say something?
Before, yes. Just a second.
Okay.
Yes, you'd like to say
I
something?
was just going to say that I waited 3 months after I started dating Tim Boston before I let him meet Brittany, because I
Okay.
wanted to know him first.
Okay. Let's see. You want, before I let you recall your client, did you have any other witnesses you wanted to call? You want me to talk to Brittany? And I will do that. Yes, Mr. Sedgeline.
And I'm going to try and keep this brief as possible, but can you explain to the court briefly the situation at PRP?
Versus Atherton?
Yes.
Oh, I'd love to.
Well, first of all, how does that relate to what we're here for today?
The court asked several questions about it. That's the only reason I was bringing it up.
Well, I'm going to talk to the child, and if we've got time left, as I recall, we didn't get started on time because everybody wasn't here on time, but I got a case after this. So I'm going to talk to Brittany now, and if that's the only thing that Mr. Rice was going to talk about, he can talk about that when I get done talking to Brittany, assuming there's some time.
Absolutely.
I'm going to talk to Brittany in chambers with Miss Duffy present. The TV will be on so that you all can see it out here. But if you've got some questions you think you would like me to ask to Brittany, jot them down and I will ask them, or I will consider asking them.
Yes, sir.
Let's put it that way. I'll give you a few minutes to do that before.
If the court wants to get started, I don't need to write down questions. It may be based on would the court entertain questions after because I don't know what she's going to say. So I guess I'd be more inclined to maybe jot a couple down, if at all, while the court's asking the questions, and maybe.
All right, we can do that. And then, Sheriff, when I'm done talking to Brittany, if Mr. Sedgeline has any questions, or if Ms. Rice has any questions. Do you have paper, Ms. Rice?
I do.
We'll give you some paper. I'm going to ask him to jot them down and then give them to you. And first of all, you come in and tell me that they got some, then come out and get their stuff, and I'll ask her. No?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Ms. Duffy, would you do me a favor, and I'll go turn on the thing. Jonathan or Sheriff, would you turn on this so the parents can see it, and then if you bring Brittany's in, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah.
Where is Brittany?
She's out.
Okay. The sheriff came back and told me that you were having real trouble hearing me on that TV, and I regret that, but I was having a problem. Unless I turned it down real low, I was getting feedback, and I didn't want Brittany to have to listen to that and try to figure out what I was asking her. So either side can go back and look at the tape if you want a clearer idea of what she said. I can just kind of generalize.
Judge, we could hear it. Ultimately, Jonathan was the one that kept coming back. It was
Well, I
actually.
appreciate Jonathan
Yeah.
fixing it.
He was, but we could hear it over this once he turned the TV
Okay, and
down.
it's my understanding nobody had any questions, so, that's what Brittany had to say at this point in her life anyway. All right, Mr. Sedgeline, we're out of time, but if you want to because Ms. Rice brought up the issue of Atherton, if Mr. Rice wants to address that, albeit briefly, I don't know if it's a subject he can discuss briefly, because it sounded like he felt pretty strongly about it, but if he wants to address it briefly, he can.
I'm going to be the better side here, and he wants to, and I don't think it's relevant. I mean, based upon, if Brittany had addressed it, I think then we could have, but she didn't, so I don't think it's relevant to the court's consideration, for what it's worth.
Okay. All right, Ms. Rice, anything else you would like to say at the end of the case?
No, Your Honor, there's not.
Okay. Mr. Sedglon, anything else you'd like to say?
No, Judge.
Okay. Well, I'm going to consider what each of you have said and what your daughter has said, and go back and look at those exhibits that have been introduced, and make a decision, put it in writing, and get it to you directly and get it to Mr. Sedglon. But I do have a question. You know, for any child going through a divorce or a post-divorce situation, it's very difficult. They love, it's my experience, and I don't think Brittany's any different, they love both their parents very much. They don't have any control over the situation. Litigants I'm sure don't feel like they have much control over the situation, but you have more control than your daughter has. She is stuck in the middle, and right now she, doesn't seem to want to have much contact with her dad, but she may feel differently. She's 15. She may feel differently at a different point in time. She's not the judge. She's not going to control my decision, but, at 15, I want to know how she feels, so I'm glad that she had a chance to come in and talk to me. But has she had an opportunity to have access to any, counseling or therapy in the wake of your all's divorce?
Yes, Lee from Child Protection is working on now getting her a counselor to work with her.
Working on getting her a counselor. So, I mean,
Yeah.
has she had a counselor is what I'm
No,
asking,
she
either
hasn't,
through
but he's-
school or anywhere else?
No, he's
No?
working on it for me to get one.
Who's he?
He's with the Child Protection Service.
Is
She's
there,
referencing
is
Lee.
there an active case?
No,
going?
Lee Hourwick, based upon the initial DVO, the initial EPO
Right.
that was filed, I think the court maybe ordered or somehow CPS got involved. I've spoken multiple times with Mr. Hourwick, and he's indicated that CPS case is closed, but I think the intent was that they would get her engaged in some counseling, but they've never filed a petition. My understanding from Mr. Hourwick, and I see him probably every Tuesday, he's indicated to me that there is nothing pending, and that was all related to the initial EPO filed by Ms. Rice.
Is Brittany covered by anybody's insurance?
She's on Passport.
Okay. I don't know if Passport has any coverage for anything like counseling, or if she has access to counseling
Lee
at school.
Lee Arswick said it did. That's what he's working on, is getting one that will accept Passport.
Because there's no stigma attached to it. I think she could benefit
Yes,
by
that's
having
what
somebody
I
to
agree.
talk to who wasn't one of her parents about what she's having to experience. She likes Mr. Boston, but you know what? Right now, Mr. Boston's in the Santa Claus role. He gets to drive around, he gets to help her out, he gets to do favors. He's not her parent, he doesn't have to be her parent, he doesn't have to make any difficult decisions, so not surprised she likes him. Sounds like he's nice to her and everything, but I mean, he doesn't have to lay down any ground rules like you do or like you do. And that's when, a lot of times when children get upset. At 15, they're children, but they don't feel they're like they're children. They feel like they should have a lot of say, and, I understand that. And they feel like they know what's best for them. They certainly know what they like and they dislike, but she's 15. But it does sound like, and Mr. Rice, if you could hear it, to me anyway, it sounds like some of the things you've done at this point have kind of embarrassed her. I'm sure spreading the word about Mr. Boston was something you did in good faith, but the net effect of it is it embarrassed her, and it sounds like it may have isolated her from some of her friends. I mean, I could see where some of the parents might say, "Well, if there's a felon around this child, we don't want our kids to be around this child," And I can understand why they might feel that way, and I can understand why you feel that way. But if the net effect of that is it drives away all of her friends, or a lot of her friends, I'm not surprised she's mad, and she's mad at you, Sounds like you've said some things, too, that have embarrassed her, and done some things that have embarrassed her. So I'll sort out those as best I can. But I do think it would be a real good idea for Brittany to have access to counseling. And I think that could address her relationship with her parents and her, specifically her relationship with her dad, which is, in the garbage can right now. The question is, how do we improve it, And that can't just be done by some judge hurling down orders, this must happen, that must happen. That's not necessarily going to make it any better, but if she could have the benefit of a counselor, and frankly, if you could have the benefit of a counselor, or maybe everybody in the family could benefit from having somebody else to talk to, and maybe you've already talked to people. Okay. But it's a difficult situation, and it's not going to get any easier in the immediate future. And it probably won't get any easier at all unless people work at trying to make it better. And that's something that needs to be done. So if Mr. Arwick doesn't have any luck setting up counseling for her, I think that you all need to take the reins and get that done. And I don't know, I would assume most of the schools have counselors. How much they can get into stuff, I don't know, but she could sure benefit from it.
Okay.
Probably feels pretty isolated right now being in between you all. All right, like I said, I will decide this motion. I'll do it as best I can based on your all's testimony and the exhibits and based on what Brittany told me. I'll do it as soon as I can.
Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Those shots out of order.
Because what? It is.